OSHO on Pythagoras, the eternal seeker of truth, bridging Eastern intuition and Western logic. Pythagoras was a master in the search for truth. He wagered everything he had on his quest for enlightenment. He traveled to every horizon, nearly all over the world, in order to learn from the masters. From Greece, he journeyed to Egypt in a quest to rediscover the lost Atlantis and the buried secrets of that ancient continent. In Egypt, the Library of Alexandria still stood intact, preserving all the mysteries of the past. It was the greatest library ever built on Earth. Later, it was destroyed by a fanatic. Even when it burned for 6 months, the flames smoldered on. Only 25 centuries before Pythagoras, a great continent, Atlantis, had sunk into the depths of the ocean. The ocean is called the Atlantic Ocean, precisely because of the name of Atlantis. Atlantis was the oldest continent on Earth, and its civilization had reached the pinnacle. Yet, whenever a civilization reaches its height, it faces danger, the risk of disintegration, the risk of self-destruction. Humanity today faces a similar peril. When people become filled with power, they often do not know what to do with it. When power is abundant and understanding is scarce, that power inevitably becomes dangerous. Atlantis was not sunk by a natural calamity, but by the atomic energy of its own making, humanity's self-destruction. Yet all the scriptures and secrets of Atlantis have been preserved in the Library of Alexandria. Throughout the world, there are countless legends, the story of the Great Flood. These stories all originate from the sinking of Atlantis. In Christianity, Judaism, and Hinduism alike, there are references to a great flood that once destroyed nearly all civilization, sparing only a few venerable souls. Noah, a seasoned master in his own right, and his ark have become enduring symbols. A few people managed to escape that catastrophe, and along with them, all the secrets that Atlantis had achieved survived. They were preserved in the Library of Alexandria. Pythagoras spent many years in Alexandria. He studied and became acquainted with the mystical schools of Egypt, especially the secrets concerning the god Hermes. Later, he traveled to India, seeking to learn all that the ancient sages of that land had discovered, and to understand everything India knew about the inner world of man. For many years he lived in India, and afterward he journeyed to Tibet and China. This is the known world. His entire life, he was a seeker, a pilgrim on the path of philosophy, in the truest sense of the word, a philosophy of divine love and wisdom. He was a passionate man, a philosopher not in the modern sense but in an ancient, timeless sense. For a passionate seeker does not merely study and contemplate truth. He must also venture forth, take risks, and dare to confront the unknown. Truth is like a lover. How can you think of it in abstract terms? You must connect with it with your heart, with the one you love. The search cannot rely solely on intelligence. It must delve deep into intuition. Perhaps you need intellect at the beginning, but only at the very start. At its inception, the journey requires intellect, but ultimately, it must reach the very core of your being. Pythagoras was one of the most generous, free, democratic, just, and open-minded men. He was admired throughout the world. From Greece to China, he was venerated. Every mystical school welcomed and celebrated Pythagoras wherever he went. His name became known in every corner of the earth. Wherever Pythagoras traveled, he was greeted with joy. Even after his own awakening, he continued to search for hidden secrets, always asking for a fresh start with new mystical schools. He strove to understand truth in every conceivable way. He wanted to know every facet, every aspect of reality. In his quest, Pythagoras was eager to learn from everyone. He was an exemplary student, open and committed to learning until the very end. Pythagoras, bridging East and West through the alchemy of mind and mystery. Pythagoras' entire life's work, indeed an enormous undertaking in his time, was a journey from Greece to China. It was a perilous and arduous expedition, far more challenging than it is today. By the time he returned home, Pythagoras was very old, yet truth-seekers gathered around him, and a great school was born. As is often the case, society soon began to hinder him, his school, and his disciples. Throughout his life, Pythagoras pursued eternal philosophy, and he found it. He gathered all the pieces and connected them into a harmonious, balanced whole. But he was not allowed to share every detail. He was forbidden to teach others freely. Obstacles were placed in his path, and many conspiracies were hatched against him. He could barely pass on all that he had discovered. He possessed an enormous treasure, a wealth of wisdom unmatched by anyone before him. Yet this is the folly of humankind, and it remains so. This man accomplished what was nearly impossible. He built the very first bridge between East and West. He sought to understand the Eastern mind as deeply as the Western one. A true Greek, Pythagoras was nurtured on Greek logic and scientific methods, and then he ventured into the East. There, he learned to understand through intuition, and he learned to become a mystic. Recognized as a great mathematician by the world, his transformation from mathematician to mystic was nothing short of revolutionary, for these are two diametrically opposed realms. Pythagoras was the first to strive for the impossible, and he succeeded. In his vision, the East and the West merged into one. He embodied a complete synthesis of opposites, sublime intellect and profound intuition. Pythagoras stood at the pinnacle, a dazzling peak as well as a deep valley, a rare fusion indeed. Yet his lifelong efforts were ultimately undermined by fools and the meddling masses. All that remains are a few lines of verse, enough to be inscribed on a postcard. This is all that is left of the great man, and it is not even entirely his own work. It seems that nearly everything he wrote has been lost. On the day Pythagoras died, thousands of his disciples were massacred and burned alive. Only one disciple survived, Lysis. He escaped not out of fear of death, but in order to preserve his teacher's teachings. Lysis composed the Golden Verses of Pythagoras, the only record left by a surviving disciple. The entire school was obliterated. Thousands of disciples were murdered and dismembered. All the treasures Pythagoras had gathered on his journeys, the great scriptures from China, India, Tibet, and Egypt, the cumulative works of many years, were destroyed. Lysis wrote only a few poems. In ancient tradition, a true disciple bears no name apart from that of the master. These verses are not known as Lysis verses, but as the Golden Verses of Pythagoras. He did not sign his own name on them. Pythagoras was the very first experiment in synthesis. 25 centuries have passed since that time, and no one else has ever attempted such a feat, no one before and no one after. It required a mind that was both scientific and mystical, a rare phenomenon that occurs only occasionally. There have been great mystics, Buddha, Lao Tzu, Zarathustra, and there have been great scientists, Newton, Edison, Einstein. Yet it is exceedingly difficult to find someone comfortable in both worlds. Pythagoras was that rare individual belonging to a unique class. He defies categorization by any standard. The three stages of Pythagorean philosophy: preparation, purification, perfection. Pythagoras' philosophy is divided into three parts: preparation, purification, and perfection. Preparation means being ready, entering a state of openness and receptivity. It is about creating a burning thirst, an intense longing for truth. Preparation is not merely curiosity or delight at the idea of knowing what truth is. It requires you to actively engage in the search. It is not enough to be an external observer. You must participate from within. Preparation is the introductory phase that ignites this burning desire within you. Whenever you approach a master, the very first gift they bestow is an overwhelming longing. They sow in you the seed of intense desire. Perhaps you seek a teacher for comfort or satisfaction, but that teacher will instead set you ablaze like a flame, with a new longing you never dreamed of, for things you never even recognized. Perhaps that longing has been hidden in some shadowed corner of your being, or buried deep within. The master brings it to light, fanning it into a great, fierce fire. He pours all his energy into you so that you become so hungry, so restless, that you are ready to take any risk. You gather all your longings into one stream, the single desire you yearn for day and night, whether you call it truth, God, or nirvana, all just different names for the same phenomenon. Preparation means that the disciple is awakened, realizing that we dwell in darkness and must seek the light, that we have wasted our lives and that our way of living is not the right one. Until one begins moving toward God, life remains empty and powerless. The disciple must be startled, trembling, and dragged out of his dream, a dream of money, power, and status, and be granted a new supreme dream in which all other dreams dissolve. The supreme dream is to know the truth, to know where you come from, to understand your origin, and to grasp the goal toward which you are headed. Purification is the next stage. Once the longing is born, you must be purified. For to reach the highest truth, you must abandon all unnecessary burdens, the baggage you have carried all along because you believed it valuable. Your inner system must be cleansed of every toxin you have absorbed along the way. We have all ingested poisonous substances, many kinds of toxins. Religion, too, often carries prejudice. It binds you to society, to its established norms and expectations. Purification means you must relinquish all preconceptions, ideals, biases, concepts, philosophies, everything you have been taught. You must become a clean slate, a tabula rasa. You must become utterly pure. Only when you are completely empty, with nothing written upon you, can God begin to inscribe upon you. Only in absolute silence, when all the words that society has placed upon you vanish, can the truth whisper its mysterious messages into your ear. Emptiness itself is purification. It is the state of purity. Purification is the process of being cleansed. One must let go of many things. In reality, truth is not far from you. It is only that you have accumulated so much around you. You have wrapped yourself in many layers, adopted countless personalities, and worn many masks. Because of these, you cannot see your true face. All those masks must be removed. You must become original, genuine, and completely naked. Purification means ceasing to hide, to lie, and to be pretentious. Perfection is the final stage. When you are no longer deceitful, when you have discarded all the toxins gathered along your journey, and when the dust has been wiped clean from your mirror, perfection will begin to emerge on its own. From Sophia to Sophist, the true essence of wisdom, beyond borrowed knowledge. Pythagoras was the first to coin and use the terms philosophy and philosopher. Philosophy literally means a love of wisdom, and philosopher signifies a wise friend. Before Pythagoras, other words were employed for the same purpose. For philosophy, the term Sophia was used, meaning wisdom, and for philosopher, the word sophos was used, meaning a wise or learned man. These are beautiful words, yet they have been misapplied and confused. They have faltered at unfortunate moments. Words too have their good days and bad days, their glorious moments and their moments of ignominy. Sophos is a beautiful word, signifying a wise man. Remember, however, that a wise man is not the same as a saint. A saint is the opposite of a sinner. A saint chooses the path of morality, whereas a sinner chooses that which is contrary to virtue. They are two opposing poles, like yin and yang. Saints cannot exist without sinners, and sinners cannot exist without saints. They are partners, destined only to coexist. A world without saints would be one without sinners. If you truly desire the disappearance of sinners, let the saints vanish first, and instantly no sinner would remain. The existence of saints gives rise to sinners. The more we revere saints, the more we condemn sinners, and the wider the rift becomes. Ironically, they exist side by side like two sides of the same coin. Their essence is not different. Their logic is identical. Only their choices diverge. One chooses the darkness of life, while the other opts for the light. Yet life encompasses both day and night. It is not merely one or the other. Both are halves of a whole, and as such, both suffer. Sinners suffer because they forever miss out on the beauty of virtue, the splendor of that which they have not chosen. Likewise, saints suffer because they suppress within themselves something essential and indestructible. Look deep within your saintly aspect, and you may find a sinner lurking in the unconscious. Similarly, if you peer into the depths of a sinner, you will discover a hidden saint. The mind of the saint is the unconscious of the sinner, and the mind of the sinner is the unconscious of the saint. The true philosopher is neither a saint nor a sinner. He is no one in particular. He does not choose between them. He accepts all. He is complete, both day and night. He has abandoned the endless selection of the ego. He simply accepts whatever is. He lives in raw truth, refraining from interfering with the flow of life. The philosopher, in his pristine integrity, is a phenomenon of exquisite beauty. He is a perfect circle, encompassing everything, rejecting nothing. This is the very meaning of sophos. It is a beautiful word, yet its reputation has been tarnished. It has failed because it remains a dangerous word, one that can easily be exploited by the cunning. Because the true sage is complete, embodying both aspects, a sinner may then appropriate it. Such a person might claim, "I am both. I make no choices." Now, the sinner can masquerade as a sage. He might say, "In this moment, I am like this. What is happening? What can I do? I have renounced choice. I have accepted life in its totality." Thus, the genuine sage becomes a phenomenon entirely distinct from such a deceitful person. That impostor uses language to align himself with a cunning mind. It becomes a cloak for his every whim. Deep within, the capacity for choice remains, but outwardly, one pretends not to choose, living in a state of mindful non-choice. This is an exquisitely subtle deception. Consequently, the word sophos fell from its pedestal and degenerated into sophist. The term sophist is ugly. It means a pretender. It denotes someone who feigns wisdom but is not truly wise, someone who impersonates the philosopher yet is neither a sage nor a saint. Such a person is merely a sinner who has found a way to rationalize his own sinfulness. A murderer might say, "What can I do? God commands me to kill," and a thief might claim, "What can I do? It is God's order. I am simply obeying." It is exceedingly hard to argue with such reasoning. Their justification seems impeccably logical. Thus, sophos failed and an ugly phenomenon emerged, the sophist. And the same occurred with Sophia. True wisdom is not merely knowledge, although they appear similar. Knowledge merely gives the semblance of wisdom. It is diametrically opposed to genuine wisdom. Knowledge is always borrowed, and because it is borrowed, it is essentially not real. True wisdom arises within you. It is the unfolding of your inner essence. It is the fragrance of your being. It is the process of self-understanding, of self-realization. You begin to shine in the darkness. You achieve a steadfast presence. You feel deeply rooted, unified. You are no longer a mere fragment. You become whole. True wisdom is a revolution within your being, while knowledge is mere rubbish. You may amass knowledge from others, but it does not change you. You remain unchanged. Sure, you might become dazzling, adorning yourself with many beautiful masks, but your true face remains unaltered. You continue to accumulate knowledge, and your memory grows ever richer, yet your inner self remains impoverished. Knowledge can feign wisdom. Both use the same language. Sophia is true wisdom. It unfolds within the depths of your inner self. Genuine wisdom is never borrowed. It has nothing to do with information, scriptures, doctrines, or systems of thought. It is your own personal, original experience. You know it. You have arrived. Therefore, it is sophos. It is true wisdom. If you simply repeat the experiences of others, that is sophistry, that is knowledge, which ultimately becomes useless, meaningless, nothing more than a jumble of empty words. You may use it to adorn yourself, to reinforce your ego, but you will never come to know the truth. Whenever logic begins to proclaim, "I am the door, I am the way to truth," truth itself will vanish from the world. From knowledge to wisdom, Pythagoras, cosmos, and the immutable laws of the inner world. Pythagoras had to coin new words, and he created words of great beauty. Philosophy means the love of wisdom, not merely a love of knowledge. Remember, it is the love of wisdom. Knowledge belongs to the intellect, whereas true wisdom arises from intuition. Knowledge pertains to the head, wisdom to the heart. It is through this distinction that love emerges, not logic but love, not calculation but clarity, not cunning but intelligence, not merely mental capacity but the capacity to truly understand. He also coined the term philosopher, meaning a friend of wisdom. Have you ever noticed that whenever you begin a debate with someone, you become more concerned with your own ego than with the truth? Sometimes you even see your own mistakes in the argument, yet you refuse to acknowledge them because it hurts your pride. You argue because it is your opinion, not necessarily because it is right. You refute another's ideas simply because they are his opinions, not because they are false. Debate often arises not from the pursuit of truth, but from the journey of the ego. In such cases, it becomes nothing more than sophistry, a most undesirable phenomenon. Loving someone, a woman, for instance, is a wondrous experience. The love between a man and a woman holds a profound truth, a unique fragrance, a kind of happiness. It is one of the most marvelous mysteries of life. Yet, resorting to prostitution ceases to be miraculous. Physically, things might appear similar, but spiritually they are entirely different. Prostitution is an ugly phenomenon. The one you truly love must be something sacred. Philosophy, too, is akin to your beloved, whereas sophistry is no different from prostitution. Pythagoras also introduced the word cosmos. Cosmos means the universe, order, rhythm, and harmony. Existence is not a state of chaos. It is a state of order. Pythagoras contributed greatly to human thought and to the evolution of mankind. His vision of a cosmos has become the foundation of scientific inquiry. Science can exist only if existence is a harmonious, ordered system. If it were a state of chaos, there would be no basis for science. If the laws changed every day or every moment, for example, if water boiled at 100 degrees Celsius on one day and at 500 degrees Celsius on another, if water behaved in bizarre, unordered ways, how could science function? Science presupposes that existence operates in a consistent and rational manner, that the natural world is not mad, and that if we delve deeply into existence, we will uncover immutable laws, laws that are the key to all mysteries. This principle holds true for science, and it is equally applicable to religion, for religion is nothing other than the science of the inner world. External science is called science. Internal science is called religion, but both can exist only within a harmonious, ordered system. There are certain laws in the inner world. These laws have been discovered much like the laws of science. Neither the laws of science nor the laws of religion are inventions. The truth is, you do not need to invent them. Anything you invent is not real. Truth must be discovered, not invented. Einstein discovered a law. Patanjali too discovered a law. Newton uncovered gravity. Krishna revealed grace. Each of these laws belongs to a different realm, one to the earth, one to the heavens, one to the inevitable world, one to the realm of power, one to the visible, one to the invisible. It is precisely through his vision of a cosmos that Pythagoras became the originator of the scientific concept of the world. He was the first true scientist because he provided its foundation. His vision of the cosmos must be understood. Without this understanding, you cannot grasp what he is speaking about. The inner world, the realm of the spirit, follows certain immutable laws that do not change. They are eternal. These laws are not subject to the passage of time. They transcend time. Time operates within these laws. If you wish to do anything in the outer world, you must understand how external existence functions. For without that understanding, you are destined to fail. Nature does not oblige itself to conform to your wishes. You must adjust yourself to nature. You can become a conqueror, but not by opposing nature. You must align with nature, become one with it. You may become the master of your inner realm, but you cannot defy the laws. You must harmonize with them. It is precisely due to this mystical vision that the world is not random or chaotic, but a realm of profound harmony and order that Pythagoras discovered so much for those seeking truth. Science and religion, the harmonious union of two worlds. For Pythagoras, science is the search for truth in the objective world, while religion is the search for truth in the subjective realm. Therefore, science and religion are like two arms or two wings that do not oppose each other but rather complement one another. The world would be a better place if we were reminded of this unity. Churches, temples, and laboratories need not be enemies. They should exist in a spirit of camaraderie. In such a state, humanity would be enriched. If one chooses science alone, one may become materially prosperous yet remain impoverished within. If one chooses religion exclusively, one may become rich in the inner life while growing destitute in the outer world. Both extremes are unsatisfactory. In the West, the choice has been science. It commands all the material wealth of the world, yet its people are completely lost, feeling life is meaningless and even contemplating suicide. When they look inward, they find nothing but emptiness. Their inner world has grown exceedingly poor. In contrast, in the East, the opposite has occurred. People have embraced religion and rejected science. Their inner world grows quiet and rich, yet externally they suffer from deprivation, starving on the brink of death, lacking food, medicine, and the basic comforts of a humane life. This is the consequence of not heeding Pythagoras' counsel. Humanity's entire history would have unfolded very differently had people truly listened to and understood him. There is no need to segregate East from West, or to choose between materialism and idealism. If body and soul can coexist, if they reside together within you and within everyone, then why can't materialism and idealism coexist? They should. A person must be both material and spiritual. To choose one exclusively is to kill a part of oneself. There is no need to choose. You can have both worlds. You should have both worlds, for that is the birthright you possess from the moment you are born.